death, destruction, nuclear holocaust, total annihilation, World War III. These are some of the themes covered in Stanley Kubrick's 1964 dark comedy, Dr. Strangelove. Themes such as the aforementioned usually require a more frightening mood within the moving pictures. This is serious matter. Serious stuff. What kind of a person could make a total mockery of an end-of-the-world scenario? What kind of an artist can make total fools of the men in charge of such a scenario? The answers lie deep inside of Strangelove. They are right there in every scene. Every single moment in Strangelove requires a man in charge. Every man in charge is an even bigger fool than the one he takes orders from. The blind leading the blind. Yes, we put fools in charge of the greatest decisions, and we trust them with our lives. These fools that take every opportunity to fuck you and I over, no matter what the cost. These fools dictate your laws and your well-being. These fools, people, will one day ruin us and destroy most of our beloved planet. For what? I mean, what the fuck have we created here? Who began this structure? Why do we continue to live by it? What is wrong with the human race? Why does Stanley Kubrick know so damn much? Who was he? Was he here for a reason? Well, it seems that way. It seems he was put here by some cosmic power to warn us, to make us think about our status and conditions, to teach us, to learn through his art and film. Imagine learning while watching a film, yet still be moved and entertained by the pictures we see. Did such a man exist? Or was it all the very best dream one could let live inside of our brain? Stanley delivered, always. He pushed everything as far as it can go. Do it again. Let's see what happens, he would instruct to his actors after the 10th, the 20th, the 30th take. They said he was a control freak, a recluse, a howling lunatic, a madman. I say he was an explorer. He gave every bit of his soul to give you nothing but excellence in even the most simple scene. He gave you a deep adoration and respect for the art of filmmaking. He loved you. He loved you so much. And there are so many simple-minded fools that will never know of his existence. They will drop their hard-earned cash all summer long on projects and people that don't give one single fuck about them. Not one. Yet, Stanley lived. He lived large. He lived to explore the human condition. He lived to explore the concepts of photography and cinema. He lived for the craft of acting. And when one project ended, he explored his next idea like it was his very own life. There were projects that never made it. Napoleon, Aryan Papers. Even AI was put into the hands of Steven Spielberg as life was beginning to run short. Stanley never stopped, and he still doesn't. These films, including the one I was assigned to review here, will live larger than anything else that was ever made. I assure you that everyone I am speaking with tonight knows this. They know our words could never begin to give this man the homage he deserves. It's impossible. Jack Nicholson said something like, Stanley is the man. And even that doesn't come close to doing him justice. He's right. I would feel like a fool to write about Dr. Strangelove, trying to tell you, the listener, how brilliant this film is. But I'm willing to talk about it. And gentlemen, that's just what we're going to do. All right, guys, 1964, Dr. Strangelove. He's a couple years removed from Lolita. We'll throw this into the mix as well. But without a doubt, this is probably personally my favorite Strangelove film. I mean, I definitely watch this at least once a year, and I just can't believe as I get older and as I understand, more about life and who we are and what we've become. I mean, just how much this man knew about how absurd our lives are. You know, I mean, you're talking about the scenario where we're all just not going to exist anymore, and yet, you know, even knowing this, watching this movie, you're laughing. You're laughing at all this. I mean, how does something like this get accomplished? Billy, Strangelove is near perfection.
Strangelove is great. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, we could sit here and give everyone their the lines that we love. You'll have to answer the Coca-Cola company, all the stuff that's great in this movie. But this is just, I mean,
the thing that I think I realized watching it this time was, none of us are really old enough to be properly terrified of a nuclear war between the Soviet Union and, like, how about this? I was born in 1979, and I grew up with I had one or two nightmares about nuclear bombs going off. And, it's more just sort of a visceral thing, Reagan's America and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just seeing it on TV and propaganda and all this bullshit. So I can't imagine what that was like in the middle of the 60s. Mm-hmm. And this guy goes and makes a fucking movie that's a comedy about nuclear war. I was like, that's basically like someone making a comedy about 9/11.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Wow. Oh, that's a great point, Billy.
Yeah, like, I mean, can you imagine how people, like, the fear that so many people have over terrorism and all this bullshit, and to go and make a comedy about it, it would be. I don't know anyone who would try that.
No, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, even Michael Haneke, who's probably the best filmmaker working today. Okay. His response to terrorism was a very far removed allegory called The White Ribbon, and it's good. I love that movie,
there's nothing to laugh at in there at all.
Well, and there's nothing to. It's very meditative, as Haneke is,
yes.
And he's probably the boldest filmmaker to deal with the modern world working right now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cut and bleed like I'm sure Strangelove did when it came out.
I agree.
And it's still fucking funny to this day because all the same shit is going on. You see how people behave in these situations, and you're like, oh, well, I guess we haven't come very far in 50 years. It's just pretty much the same.
Yeah, because, I mean, you could just look at, like, the president in Strangelove, and, I mean, he's such a bumbling fool, So anyone that lived through this recent George Bush presidency, I mean, you could relate right then and there. I mean, that's the amazing thing about this movie is that, I mean, if there's any film that Kubrick made, I mean, I think this one has the longest shelf life. I mean, I really do.
It's a testament to the power of satire.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I sat you down and told you the things that Dr. Strangelove tells you with a straight face, and I just said, well, you see, the way the world works is these idiots get together and they appoint idiots above them, and idiots below them,
Uh-huh.
and they proceed to just completely misunderstand the purpose of life,
Right.
of government,
Right.
of democracy, of humanity, and all of these things, and they proceed to quite deliberately just never grasp any of those things. I mean, it's not very compelling, is it? You know, and it's almost tinfoil hat territory where it's like, well, it can't be that bad. Surely it's not that bad. But when you present it the way Stanley does in Strangelove, it cuts so deep, right? It hurts when you think about it, and you're laughing, and you're like, man, this is hilarious. And oh my God, my eyes are open. You know, it's incredible.
Underline Strangelove as an underline a lot of Kubrick's approach to things is the exposure of hypocrisy, right? And you know, David Lynch always uses this quote from some Hindu text where it's, you know, you weave the dream that you want to live in, right? And all these characters in Strangelove, they're creating the world that is about to happen. It's not necessary. And to say that it's necessary, to blame any sort of ideological reason for any of it to happen is obvious patent hypocrisy. They want to create a nuclear holocaust. That's the true horror, is it's within their control to not do those things, but they pretend that it's out of their control and it's going to happen regardless. So, I mean, that's the horror, is that. And when you deal with some of the intelligence community and military view of things, that's just how they see shit, and that's how they interpret it, you know. So to lampoon that is like one of the great gifts to the public, to say, hey, look, all these people who are doing this shit, and you yourself, if you fear all of this, if you support a response to this, you're part of the comedy, you know. And unfortunately, this comedy is going to end in global annihilation, you know.
Jeff, I know you love this film, and I want you to jump in about your feelings on Strangelove. And you know, obviously, you just rewatched it this summer. Again, it must. I mean, it must get better and better every time you screen it.
Yeah, there's like, just, you know, stuff here and there that seems, you know, funnier, and you know, stuff I get more as you know, each time. And you know, I've been trying to think of like what to say that hasn't been said, or you guys are saying,
right?
It's obviously very hard.
Yeah.
But I do like you know, that idea of these people living in a world that they're trying to create, and especially even someone who's not 100% with the nuclear attack plan, like the Turgidson, who's sort of still in his like that hand-to-hand ground combat mentality.
Uh-huh.
And this plan has gone into effect. It's obviously gone way beyond just, you know, two countries battling each other. And so that, you know, they have the Russian premier there, and they're just trying to work it out. And he's still concerned that he's going to see their like movements,
right?
Like,
well,
secret
the big,
to their,
the big board, obviously,
and
yeah.
And like, so he's in that world still. Like, he doesn't even know that there's something huge going on.
A fool. I mean, he's basically a fool.
Yeah.
Max, Strangelove?
I just can't get past what you wrote, that Kubrick loves us all. I mean, that's one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
I gotta echo that. That was fucking fantastic.
I mean, Tom, this is where, like, you need to get over your bullshit about beating yourself up and considering yourself not adequate or whatever, because you came up with that. I mean, you know, this is my all-time favorite filmmaker, whatever, let's all yank it. But, I mean, that is just poetry to me. It's so true, and I can't stop thinking about it, because one of the things I try to touch upon when I reflect on on the Kubrick doc is that the dude was surrounded by love.
Yeah.
And And the fact is, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not comparing myself to Stanley Kubrick, but a lot of people say, God, you know, it's so funny how much you hate people and how much you put down the human race and how much you make fun of it, but you seem to really love people. And I mean, I think you have to kind of be that. And I just think you nailed it so hard. I can't even process it. It was so good. I love what you said, and I love the film, of course, but again, what excites me so much about Stanley is his relationships with his actors. And you've got Peter Sellers playing 4 roles in this film.
Right.
And Peter Sellers played, I don't know, 2 or 3 roles in Lolita.
Well, yeah, but it was the same. Like, he played one role in Lolita, but the role, like, within the role, he played like 3 other characters, Billy, right? The Lolita thing.
I recall it being that way. I'm ashamed to say I didn't rewatch Lolita for the show.
So he does 2 movies with Sellers, and he basically gets to like create like 7 characters with them, Max.
His ironic comment on Dr. Strangelove was, "I got 3 roles for the price of 6."
Yeah, I mean,
but back then it wasn't a stunt. Back then it wasn't a snarky comedic move. I mean, back then it was a fucking artful, logical choice. Yeah. You've got this guy, this chameleon, that you can delve into his well of, you know, crazy characters. And I mean, my God, the shit that Sellers does in this film, the shit that C. Scott does. I mean, all these dudes, as long as the actors are having the time of their lives, you are going to have the best time. And all of the crazy shit that goes down in the war room, and you've got all these great visuals, but I'm telling you, it just looks like they were having a fucking blast.
Well, how could you not? I mean, you got Kubrick, Sellers, and Terry Southern.
Terry Southern, man.
You know, I mean, putting together, you know, I mean, and this project, Billy, initially, I mean, he was going to do a serious film. There's no denying that.
This is totally true, but I have to backtrack a second, Max. There's no way that we can arrive at Dr. Strangelove and Peter Sellers and George C. Scott without you having more to say on that subject. I know you have to. There's got to be material you have waiting to burst out on this whole subject.
Oh God, I mean, I'm gonna release a giant fart here. I mean, it's more with Clockwork what you're talking about, I think. I mean, are you talking about... What are you talking about?
Peter Sellers, I mean, the performance.
Yes.
Of Peter Sellers, the characters. I would say Peter Sellers was the first time I witnessed an actor doing more than what I would consider to be impressions and going to the level of what you describe as channeling.
Yeah.
Because what he does as the president,
the Dimitris.
It was pointed out to me. I mean, obviously I think about these things because when I'm drunk, I crack jokes with people like this and I play characters, but he's playing both characters on the phone, right? He's on the phone. Correct. And he's holding a conversation with another character, and that's improvised. Yeah. So he's not just doing like a funny character. He's creating an entire universe inside of his head, you know? And this, I mean, Max, I don't know. I just feel like you have things to say on that.
Yeah,
But more with Clockwork Orange?
No. I know what you're saying, I think. But like, that's again what I just keep going back to. It's like Kubrick loved his actors, and I have a collaborator. I don't really do plays with him much anymore, but we're still incredible friends. But there's a guy out here in L.A. named Stephen Marks, and I was in a ton of his plays, and they were always really, big hits critically, whatever, and I always had amazing experiences with him, but we always talk about the fact that he just trusted what I could do for his stuff because he wrote it, he directed it, but at the same time, nothing made him more giddy than pulling me aside and throwing me the weirdest fucking out there direction. We don't know that Stanley didn't say to Peter just to have fun, all right, pretend that there's a cockroach crawling on your anus. I mean, you have no idea the collaborative genius that went on between those two because we weren't privy. But you see it in the end, and that's why we're so lucky. I mean, we get to see these two play and create history here, It's just seriously some of the most exciting stuff. And again, I'm not living up to the expectation that maybe you were thrown out there with that, but I see it. I see how Stanley Kubrick and Peter Sellers had so much fun fucking around with those characters. And as a result, I have the best time watching it, you know?
There's actually one of the shots at the end when Dr. Strangelove is describing what's going to happen now in this post-apocalyptic society, and the actor who plays the Russian ambassador, he just keeps cracking up in the background. Like, he's in the background of the shot, and he can't keep a straight face.
Is he near the food?
No, not near the food.
No, I'm just asking.
But
he seemed to like that buffet table.
He loved that buffet table. But the other one is to go to your point, Max. The glove was not in the script that Strangelove wears. The glove on the one hand.
Totally.
That's a lighting glove that Kubrick wore to handle the hot lights. And Peter Sellers was like, "Give me that thing."
Give me that thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, if there's one thing that falls a little sour with me in this film is Dr. Strangelove himself. I just find it so over the top. I don't laugh at it, and I don't know if I'm missing something, Billy, but I laugh at the president. I really laugh at Mandrake, but Dr. Strangelove, I don't know. It's just so over the top to me. It's like too much almost.
He's your orgasm, Tom.
Yeah.
He's the cum at the end.
What?
He's my orgasm.
This is part of that pre-show recording that I wasn't part of, right?
No, I don't know where he's coming from.
Joe Turkel, Patrick McGee, Peter Sellers, Sterling Hayden, Philip Stone. I mean, these are dudes that Stanley, if you're in more than one Stanley film, you have got to be something special as an actor.
I agree.
And Leon Vitali, who played Lord Bullington in Barry Lyndon, that dude went on to be Stanley's personal assistant for 30 years.
Right.
You've got to love his relationship with actors. No director is like that. Very few, rather. I would say once Stanley died, and I always get into this with the counselor, he disagrees. He thinks it's, P.T. Anderson or Terry Gilliam. But I think the torch was passed to Lynch when Stanley died.
That's a very, very good point.
It's the only director that excited me, that made me feel the purest vision and the love of actors that he had and the world that he created. You talk about Kubrick land, Billy. I mean, the same thing. Lynch is the only guy for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, for creating a universe within pieces of celluloid is I'm behind you on that one.
It's funny that you say that because Dave and I were talking last week, and Dave said that he felt it was the guys who made Manborg.
It could be.
Were we supposed to actually watch Manborg?
Tom, why would you say a thing like that?
Yeah,
why would you?
I needed to do something.
Tom, you're pulling a Max.
What are you gonna throw all of us edge weapons and
Oh, come on, Billy.
All I've got to say is that Manborg has a comic book now. I don't think Stanley Kubrick ever had any comic books.
Fair enough. Hey, guys,
he didn't need a comic book. He had Slim Pickens.
We're gonna talk about 2001 next, but I don't want to skip. I mean, because we are talking about Sellers a little bit. I just wanted to give anyone an opportunity to talk about Lolita. Jeff, do you have anything to say about the Nabokov Kubrick production?
That is actually one that I was also not able to get to.
Fair enough. Dave, I gotta tell you, I got a feeling that you love Lolita.
Lolita is incredible.
Yeah, it's
if only because it does such a spectacular job of understanding how pathetic this man is, and just kind of how sad and what a joke he really is for chasing this girl, and it I don't know, it's a different experience from the book too, which is kind of, I don't know. You can read the book a bunch of different ways, I think, but the film, he definitely had his own ideas, about how it was read.
You agree with
The
that?
book
Bill?
is unabashedly lustful, like because
Yeah.
it's in the first person, and Humbert is like he's just so romantic and lustful, through the whole thing, and it's obsessive, and it's
I
it's
think
very. I don't even really understand what it is, but the book is more. He's more pathetic. Or I'm sorry, in the film he's far more pathetic and viewed at sort of arm's length.
You sympathize with him a lot more in the book than you do in the film. I think in the film you sort of it's another side of his character. It's an outsider's view of his character.
James Mason is great.
He's always great.
I think him in that and North by Northwest are two of my favorite of his performances, and I think he's really underrated in Lolita, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I love Mason. I love him in The Verdict personally, but he's great in anything. And he's Max. He's in. I think we share this film as one of our favorites in Warren Beatty's Heaven Can Wait. He's amazing.
He is. I don't know. That's one of my favorites. I haven't seen that in years. When's the last time you saw that?
Oh, Heaven Can Wait?
Yeah.
Oh, I try to watch that every couple years.
Look at you.
I'm a huge fan of Heaven Can Wait, man. I mean,
Tom, it's 6:43 p.m. and we're only at Strangelove.
Yeah. No, relax.
Fuck.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes.
I just want to know why you thought I'd have something to say about Lolita. Are you saying something?
I was just improvising.
Like we
because you're a pervert. Dude.
Yeah, I was.
Is that it?
Honestly, I was hoping I was going to say that and then just be right about it, and and then you were going to get excited.
Oh, that'd be like, all right, yeah.
Little girls, yeah.
Jeff is going to introduce A Clockwork Orange in just a couple.
Wait a second. I don't get to say anything about Lolita.
God damn it, Max! You're telling me about moving on, and then you want to jabberjaw about Lolita.
That was pretty awesome, Max.
Can I just say this? I used to yank it so hard to Shelley in that film.
Oh,
Shelley Winters?
come on, Max.
She's so fucking hot in that movie.
Oh
Imagine
God, you disgust me.
giant black satin brief hugging her pasty, white, full, bursting female flesh, and those holes just oozing all kinds of sweet liquid. Oh my God, she's beautiful in that thing.
I don't. Either you missed the point to Lolita completely, or I did, because that is the most extraordinary analysis I've ever heard.
At least he doesn't whack off to her in the Poseidon Adventure.
How do you know he doesn't?
Yeah, Tom, how do you know I don't imagine?
I'm sorry. At least he hasn't admitted yet to whacking off to Shelley Winters in the Poseidon Adventure.
Do you seriously find Shelley Winters hot in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow. You are
Too
messed up.
Sorry. I am very messed up. What are you talking about?
Oh,
That is fucked up.
I don't.
By the way, Lolita, David Lynch's favorite Kubrick movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think I knew that.
Jeff, you know what? Why don't you introduce A Clockwork Orange? We'll do 2001 Clockwork and Barry Lyndon all together, and we'll move this thing along. What do you say?